considered.
Oh no.
You ready, Dan? Irene? Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, good evening, all. This is the July 14th meeting of the Town of Kennewick Planning Board. I see a familiar face, so I'm not going to go around and introduce everybody, though I will note that Jay is on the bench tonight, so he's inactive. He's in his alternate. We've got a full board. Thanks for coming out, everyone. And we'll follow the agenda quickly. So we hope you get out of here, especially I know you would like to leave and you are first on the agenda. So we'll get that in just a second. There are no legal notices that were required for this meeting, since all we had was an amended site plan and some discussion on various guidelines and sketch plans. And I think we only have Mike. Is anyone online? So I doubt if we have anybody that wants privilege of the floor, although I guess officially I should ask for it. Anybody want to address the board regarding something that's not on the agenda? Now it's time to do so. If not, let's move on to the agenda itself. First item is CPN 2026-061. It's 3501 Middle Cheshire Road. It's an amended site plan. And if you recall, this was an original site plan of 2025-095, which the board approved. And understand to hit water.
Yeah, they were hopeful that moving up the hill a little bit from where we did the perk test, there would be less water. There was not less water. So we can't really go down into the ground with the basement. We planned on doing 9-foot superior wall basement. So we're going to be up out of the ground pretty good amount anyway. So kind of talking with our contractor and everything, makes sense to do a walkout basement. Because we had already had planned for a Bilco door anyway, that would just be hanging off the side of the house at that point. With the walkout, we would have everything as far as the site plan with drainage and everything is staying the same. Just the grade would be coming up in the front of the house, not quite level with the road, but filling it up so it's not a giant swale through the front yard. Unfortunately, it's going to take quite a bit of fill because once our tree contractor came in and cleared the land, we found that there is an old foundation that somebody put in there previously. Neighbors were dumping limbs and brush and all that stuff in there. Once they got cleared out, if you stand down in that hole, it's about 8 feet up to the road down in that hole.
Where was it in relation to the new home? In the front?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right in the front yard.
Right where the swales cut?
Just about, yeah. Yep. So
okay.
We were gonna have to fill that in regardless because it's very, very low right there. But obviously we don't have the spoils since we're not digging down as deep with the basement now. That's about just a pretty.
Yeah, I guess for the record, you should tell us your name. Obviously, recognize your family.
Taylor Bonaventura,
yeah.
My wife actually, Bonaventura. Rambunctious baby Kelly.
Just so you know, they're falling off a lot of fill from the Pierce Brook project.
I work for NICEAG and we were just over there doing gas services the other day and I saw them hauling triaxle after triaxle out of there. The problem is that we were held up with this. We don't have any room to get the dirt in there right now because doing a modular home, we have a crane pad set up right now.
Sure.
I would love to be over there getting that fill right now because I think the cheapest price we found is $14 a yard.
Well, they were holding a lot. There's still a lot left, and the excavator's gone. So whatever phase.
They got a lot of work doing there still, so I assume they're gonna have more. But that is on my radar. Thank you though for mentioning it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think by actually bringing that house up, especially on the south side, it's going to work better because
I agree.
Sort of falls off from your neighbor to the south to your property, so it'll almost come up the grade, so that should be no trouble as far as runoff. I guess the concern then, it gets a little higher on the north side. I guess you're cutting that swale and you're going to run it into the hedgerow.
So the hedgerow there was all dead junk trees that were in there. That all, once they started getting in there, there was nothing there to keep. There's hedgerow from about the back corner of the house back to the back property line left, but the front, there was nothing.
Yeah, I noticed you took that out. I know it was concern originally of the ECB and this board to try to keep it as much as possible. So you're not gonna take any more out?
No, everything's cleared that's supposed to be cleared, and we were honestly 1 day away from setting the basement and 5 days away from the house being set when we were told they to come back.
The water's not an issue for your septic, that's all above ground?
Nope, that's nothing changing back there. The perk tests, everything, they already have it all designed accordingly for that. The grade's not changing back there. It's a shallow bed system, so it'll be, I forget without looking, about 18 inches up out of the ground.
I know it's concern of our code officer, it was in the back of the house, I assume you're gonna have a patio or a bed or something
Someday.
someday, okay, not initially.
No,
You don't show any grading to the back, even though it's gonna essentially be at grade because you're coming in, below grade.
yeah, so the back wall right now, I was just over there the other day and they have it grade marked out for the bottom level of the basement. The south corner in the back is about 6 inches below grade and it tapers over to the north corner in the back, and that's right at grade right now. The front side, it's about 5 foot down on the south, and I believe 3 or 4 foot down on the south or on the north right now.
So the amount of fill you're bringing in, we've had this on a couple of other applications. The lift and tamp of bringing in that much dirt, especially in the driveway area where you're gonna be bringing up that grade, and putting driveway on it. Was there any? I didn't see any details in the engineering. Is there going to be a plan for that, or bringing in that much fill since it's now changed since the original plan?
I don't think they specifically wrote it out for that, but I thought they had something in there for lift compaction. I thought,
I might,
but we did talk about it because I told them, just working in construction myself, I was like, we're not having a yard that's sinking for the next, so many years.
just the driveway side too.
Yeah.
It's, there's a lot of static pressure in that whole thing right there. So, there's, as long as they're doing it right, and I just dumping a bunch of film and hoping for the best.
No, they might be sick of us already because I've been staying on top of them because been around contractors for a while. Yeah.
Did the board happen to, I don't know if it was in the original plan, but the treatment that they use for the downspouts? Did you see that rather than just dumping it on a splash block? It goes a splash block then to like a infiltration bed. Interesting concept. Something to keep in mind if we get into situations where we want more than just dumped on splash blocks and have it all.
I don't know if you did that on purpose, but I remember the neighbor to your backside there had problems that water. So good on you for doing that and making sure it stays on your property there, but that was.
I know it's been dry so far, but I've been back there a few times and it's been completely dry. Besides on the very, very north end of the property, there's kind of a natural swell there. That's the only spot that there's any kind of wetness so far, but obviously we want to mitigate it as much as possible.
Okay, board, have anything else? Shame you had to delay, but it's part of the actual, it's going up 4 feet.
I believe so, right around there.
4 feet, yeah. So because it lifts that high, that you have to come back and see us. Okay, I assume there's nobody in the audience who would like to address us regarding this application. If not,
somebody that joined us online.
okay. Good. And the 15-foot easement was on the plan in the front for any future sidewalk, which we want to establish and keep there for future purposes. All right, I'm ready for a motion on both the seeker, which is the revised seeker regarding the revised plan, as well as the amended. So move.
Second.
Okay, got a motion second, we got the right plan revision, 617. Yep. Okay, for discussion, if not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so good luck now.
Yeah.
That's all right.
So we need to get a new signed copy of this, of that one. Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, let's move into our review of the two guideline policies. Let's sort of like preface this thing by, over the weekend, I was thinking, the way I sort of see this developing in relation to these guidelines as well as current regulations that we have in the books. I sort of look at it as a three-tier. If you're on the lake or from a lake perspective, you've got the shoreline guidelines that more or less regulate and guide us as to how the shoreline should look. Then you step up into the scenic viewshed, okay, which is defined under the viewshed map. And then above that, third tier would be the ridgelines. So whether we have three documents that cover three applications or three situations, or we have maybe a consolidated document that would cover it all, that could be something we'd think about. But that being said, let's start at the bottom, and we'll take the shorelines first. And I'd ask Bob, since he had sincere interest in the shoreline, and he provided a lot of the documentation we see in the workspace, that he would sort of lead the discussion on this, and we'll kick around the shoreline guidelines.
So did anybody get a chance to look at my draft stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I try to take into consideration what Mark has been brought up about how we can validate it, how we can ensure that it gets reviewed, and how then we can ensure enforcement of it. I also looked at other beautiful lakes in our country, Taos in Nevada. A few other lakes have very specific guidelines for it. A lot of them even actually concerned with boat traffic, which I don't think our town can control boat traffic for erosion on the shorelines thing. So what I did is I brought all that stuff together and took the good that I thought was in art stuff and put it into a checklist. Well, actually a standard policy, and then checklists for us, and to use a checklist in PRC so that by the time we get it, we have a complete application, and then we can validate it by this checklist and making sure it's all done. And then the applicant would be able to look at that also and ensure that they're following what we want to see in the end. I did have one change. I started reviewing it again after the fact, and I think there's one line in there that says there's no flags on the shoreline. I think personally that should be no other than the United States flag should be seen from the shoreline. And that was kind of as like wide open, no flags, but that would be one thing I would change straight away. And it kind of also what it did was give the town the ability or the mandate to go out and look at these houses and start a standard, this is where we're at today. And then each year do a validation run with a boat, has to be done with a boat on the water, and see what's been going on. And then we can work from there to keep on improving from there. That's my thought on the shorelines.
So first, thanks for driving that. And I think we took a similar approach. Just comparing I started actually with the towns that touch the lake, because I really think if we're going to try to do it, we should try to get in unison, which is.
So that's my point too, is we're the only one really forcing something.
Yeah. Well, Gorham's trying to, but the other 6, I'm not sure they are.
Yeah.
I also pulled in Tahoe mostly because of the irony that everybody here knows Tahoe and nobody there knows Canandaigua. Some of them do. And I've been able to establish a reasonable interaction with some of them. And I came away with one thing that I think we should probably answer first, and that is, what are we trying to accomplish? When I listen to you, Bob, what I'm hearing is that you're looking for a look feel.
Yeah,
And when I think about, and that is, Tahoe does a very good job at that. Tahoe is very specific on how to do look feel.
yeah,
My personal concern is what it does to the lake. My personal concern is what happens if we have a natural environment at the forefront of the lake, which aligns with the look feel, then we'll by default get better water quality and hopefully less stuff that's going in. And that's, so when I started thinking through the same thing, but looking at it and saying, what standards do we put in place that then impact that, which does lead to buffers and everything else that comes with it. But it really does become a question of what is the goal? Is the goal one for, everybody knows that I like measurables.
yeah, so do I.
Is it, and I think you do too.
Yeah.
Is it really just for the look? Or, because I think that will be something until we become much more European, I guess. In that they'll literally say you're allowed to have these 3 colors. All of the roofs need to look the same. I mean, it's community building more than it is planning. I think we're far from that. So then what's the point of policing it? Because then we then put opinion on it as opposed to a community evaluating.
Yes, and that's where I thought, if we have a standard policy, and it says it in there, I believe, for colors and things, and they understand that from the very beginning, that becomes what we can hold ourselves to, or hold them to. And they would, on the checklist, they would go through that checklist and say, okay, I need to do this, I need to do this, I can't do this. And before they come to us, that would be in their plan already. I like checklists, just military thing. I do it.
Can
And if you
it
work within those
be,
boundaries,
sorry, go ahead.
then if you work within those boundaries, here's what we want to see. What are the goals? Like you're saying there, what are our goals? And it's enforceable and validatable. That's really what, thing is. And in the long run, like in Taos, their goal is also to ensure not a lot of erosion on water. So,
Yeah, most everybody else is a docking and mooring.
yes. Yeah.
I think just the biggest thing that we've been talking about for the last 7 months since I've joined here has been stormwater for sure. And the safety and the quality of what we do lakeside that's going to affect waterside. And that goes all the way from scenic view all the way to ridgeline. I don't think we don't have to be as strict or stringent on some of the ridgeline expectations of water management, but it all flows downhill. And when it does hit the lake, I'm on the lake every weekend and I witness blowouts on culverts and logs that are the size of this table. And obviously that's not anybody's happening or fault, but I think with all the new expectations going in, whether the other 7 municipalities around our lake abide by us, maybe we set the standard. We set the bar up here, and then eventually they'll follow suit because our shorelines are more protected. They're holding up better. But it does add a cost to the project. Some of our stormwater management is very low impact on budget, but shoreline break walls, stuff like that. You're buying a property and all of a sudden you need to put a $300,000 break wall. That's going to kind of drive some people away. But most people that have lake houses have the infrastructure and the capital to do just about anything we would request of them. Being a builder, I've never appreciated stormwater management more in my life since I've gone through these projects, and knowing that the shoreline is decreasing every year because of stormwater management, it goes to say that these other jobs that are coming in, I think it's time that we don't have every little asphalt pebble go into the lake. Go into those filtration systems that are going to protect the fish and the algae blooms are reduced and everything else. There's gonna be a cause and effect of everything we put in place. I don't think anything that we ask is unreasonable. I think it's very tolerable to the clients that are coming and asking for a $5 million lake house. You know, $100,000 stormwater management system and a maintenance package is small potatoes in the big midst of things.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's why I say I think we need to decide why. Are we going for a look, or are we going for a mechanism to save the lake?
Yeah.
Right. And then if we stick on mechanism to save the lake, then we've always got solid ground to stand on.
Yeah.
And then enforcement.
Right, that's what I mean.
Yep.
There's never a question of, well, that's your opinion. I don't like the color of your house. Well, I don't care what the color of their house is, honestly. I care what's going in the lake.
Yeah.
Well, that's what 170 is supposed to be taken care of,
Yeah.
point. Right? I mean, that's what, there's a lot of that in 170.
But we're also gonna have issues with, I mean, look at all of the pushback we get on, I wanna open up the view to the lake. You can't.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Get it all the time.
Right.
And direct water access to the lake. I mean, direct rainwater straight off their house, off and straight into the lake. Those things. That's what I commented on Anthony the other day. Like, no, we do that all the time. No, you don't. Yeah. With infiltration.
I think a lot of our focus has been just on the expectation of slowing the water or filtering the water before it hits the lake. I think that is more of a guideline that we could tangibly touch and collectively as a board come together with the right expectation to give applicants.
But we gotta get,
A matter of opinion on some of the styles and colors and flat roofs and everything else. I mean, it's tough, but some of these houses that we're talking about that have pushed the limit of the comfortability aren't even in our RLD. So there's other townships around the lake that if we were in communication with them and we all had the same standard, I think we could start changing the way things are not getting out of hand.
You know, like Mark, what you're saying in this, what are we doing it for? Visual or for protection? My thought process goes right back to why did we have it in the beginning? Why did we have shoreline guidelines in the beginning? And it was mainly for making sure that it looks pretty from a small percentage of the lake population that's town. Always had a problem with that, but if we're going to do it right, I thought. And that shoreline was basically not a save the lake kind of thing. It was making sure the shoreline looked good. We put trees up in certain places to block houses and things. We did those things to beautify the lake. And that's where I think 170 stormwater management is going to be intertwined with all that, along with the bridge line, et cetera, trying to prepare all that. Those are my thoughts. But
170 should cover it all.
Yeah.
You know, because upland stormwater management is in many ways as important as the lake. And
yeah.
it's different, as we know, because most of the lake properties are built. When can we apply these? And like I suggested, I think that anytime somebody comes in to make an improvement, sets for the cost of what they're proposing to do, to go a little extra and do some filtration, or even just to know where your pipes are sourced from. I don't think it's too much to ask for what people are spending.
yeah, I agree.
For landscaping plans.
And to your point, Mark, of the why, can it be both? Can it be both protecting the lake and then the scenic character, right? And I think, I mean, there's, Bob, in your purpose and intent, you start with character, you go into kind of the chemical fertilizer, but I think we could increase that language around also protects water quality, you know, what intent to, you know, where we can make that like a leading, maybe reprioritize or include more language on protecting the water quality, protecting the lake. a natural resource as it aligns with comp plan, blah, 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 whatever. But can it be both?
Some of it will happen automatically. So if you start looking at coverage and trees and stuff along those lines
Yeah.
and setbacks
Yeah.
from water, not just the lake, but setbacks from all water, it will drive that because the way you're going to do that should be with natural vegetation, which will help the process. So I think some of it does. I think things like tree replacement and everything else that gets into it as well impacts it. But then allowing things that I don't know about, I hear what you're saying about break walls and everything, but everything that I read is that we want it to go to soft and natural over time. But you're going to get more erosion with that whether you establish it. So I don't know how to balance that. I'm not the engineer that needs to solve that problem. But I think we do need to try to solve that problem.
I think also like a new applications, current conditions need to be really documented with large growth trees that are holding the whole ground together. I know that, when we do planning budgets and stuff, it has to be a 6-inch tree. Well, you took out a 24-inch tree, and that 24-inch tree had a base of 12 feet wide. So, it's one of those things where, especially on the higher side, when we're clearing 5 acres of forests, there's no stability, and it's all coming downhill. So I think just really understanding current conditions, well-documented current conditions, and having thing for the checklist. I think having a 2 or 3 page checklist with attainable goals for an applicant, it might be not applicable for a certain application, but if we have a document that we can enforce and that we can all feel good about asking for, they're going to go into, by the time they make it to us, it should be one meeting and done.
That's right.
Which would be nice for all of us.
And I think part of it, nice job on coming up with metrics that can be enforced, but that goes back to Dan and Mike, understanding what they can enforce. Right?
Yeah.
So, and that's where some of this, not a popular comment, but maybe it's okay for RLD, is to slow some of it down so that we can get into enforcement and control of it to see what we need to enforce. Maybe be more stringent with the enforcement to try to drive correction, how long it takes to correct it. I mean, we need that feedback from the town employees to look at it and say, we just can't do that. Or, okay, if we can do that if we take this away, or we need resource for what have you. Because it's not going to, it'll slow the development, but it's not going to, in our current state, it's not going to impact the marketability or value to the market, which should then bring the tax base up. I mean, it's a very delicate scenario, but under current economic conditions, it shouldn't negatively impact. But we will be criticized on slowing down development, potentially. But it's all in the best interest of the lake.
Long term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I first off, I want to start out saying this is a phenomenal conversation. And I really appreciate this. I really like what you guys did. Mark's point, we want to know what you guys want. And then we're going to come back and say, okay, we have to tweak it a little bit, or is it feasible? But until I understand your goals, and that's what I need to know, the goals and the visions of exactly what you guys are looking for, then I can actually comment from our team and say, okay, yes, we can enforce that, or we can't enforce all of that, but this is our bandwidth of what we can accomplish. And then hopefully we can meet somewhere in the middle. Again, I'm not looking for tonight to be the only night that we have this discussion. These documents also went to ECB. So we're looking for their comments as well. And I had the same kind of comments to them of, give me everything that your vision and goal is to the most. And then we'll see what staff can help with it. You guys don't tell me, I don't know how to work with the staff and try to figure that out. Can I sit here and say that we can do everything you want? But I can tell you 100% that we can't. But is there something that we can probably be impactful? Well, I think so.
And shouldn't the goal come from the town first, like for
You are the
comp
town-
plan. I'm after town board. And after the comp plan, this whole thing came about because of the comp plan. We did shoreline because of comp plan. So it should be the basis first.
So, and I agree that a lot of it could come from the comp plan. But the comp plan is due for an update. So to rely on that document right now, I don't think I think it's a good resource, but probably not the ultimate resource. I really value this board. You have seen every project that has come through, especially in RLD. You guys are the experts. So that's why I asked town ordinance to say if we could start with you guys, because let's get as much as we can. And I know you guys know the comp plan. You've been working off of that document for years. So I agree with you. I'm hopeful that we can get a document that we can make staff be able to enforce. Make from a development side of things that we can work with the applicants and try to get your checklists, and those are my goals. I'm thrilled to hear those kind of things because my goal is obviously to get you an application that's completely or just has little tweaks that you guys have to do where we can keep development moving. I think there's a happy medium though, because I agree with Mark that you can't just push everything through. So I think your checklist is going to slow them down on development, but I'm hoping by the time they get into the actual process, we are that much farther ahead.
Yes,
And
agree.
lastly, to go back to the comprehensive plan, using this document to help draft the new comprehensive plan with your guys' visions. And I think that will be very useful.
So I actually don't think the goal here conflicts with the comp plan. You have to, even
Right.
today's comp plan.
No, I don't,
So-
either. I just want to make sure that we aren't setting our goals.
So I
It
think,
should be town goals.
well, I think we all, I don't know how you came into the planning board, but I actually thought I might impact the plan of the town at some point. But I recognize that most of our job is enforcing the comp plan and the code just like the town does. So we don't get to do a lot of planning, so this is a little bit of an opportunity for that. And that's why, for me, it's making sure that the plan is holistic in the interest of the lake. And it's not even an environmental response for me. It is indirectly, but it's the most valuable asset we have in the town. As a result, I want to make sure that it's protected. We're gonna get, my guess is we're gonna get blue-green algae much sooner this year because of the way the environmental conditions have shifted. And I wouldn't be surprised if sometime in the next couple of weeks, we're suddenly getting those warnings, right? A little bit earlier every year. So anything that we can do that then slows that down or reverses it, which would be the goal, we've got to reverse it in my mind, helps that. And that actually aligns with comp plan because we want to keep a natural environment. The things that get a little bit harder, but then it actually helps align is in the comp plan, one of the things is how do we get more public access to the lake? Well, what it does do is it says, okay, you want more public access, here's how we do it. We've got to introduce storm sewers. We've got, I mean, whatever it might be over time, there's got to be infrastructure that goes into it. So that part of it gets a little bit harder. I do fear that the comp plan is going to get a little pressure to go faster. At least that's the tone I'm feeling. But until we're into it, I'll worry about that when we get into it. But I do think most of the things that we're talking about or what we could influence with the shoreline guideline really turns into keep things from coming in. Do it naturally, keep things from coming in. And that seems like it's most of what we've been talking about for the past year.
We are aligned.
So I want to bring it back to Chairman's comment when he started about, is this document more than shorelines? Which I sort of have to agree with his
It goes
thoughts.
uphill.
It goes up the hill. So is this a document that we need to maybe incorporate all three and address it as a standing document? When Chuck first mentioned that to me, I took that away and I thought to myself, you know what, that's not a bad idea, because then we have one document, one checklist, and it's the same. It doesn't matter if I'm on the lake shore, up a little bit, or if I'm all the way up on the ridge. The document checklist for what you're doing could be the same, because your goals are the same from what I'm hearing. I mean, I don't wanna put words in your mouth, but from what I'm hearing, goals seem to be similar.
Going back to some of the basics here. Currently, the shoreline guidelines apply to the RLD. Are we looking to expand that at all? I don't see a reason to. Okay. So is what we're doing currently working? I've been on the board 16 years and, working with the guidelines, it's been very subjective. You can look at each individual case and sort of, rather than having hard and fast metric regulations that you apply, you look at each individual case. I mean, for the most part, the applicants have been cooperative. We'd like to see a tree here, we'd like to see a tree there. Could you provide a stormwater management system so you don't have direct flow into the lake? And maybe it's under the premise that if you don't do it, you may not get approval. And if that works, fine. So what's not working in terms of what we're doing now, other than staff? An applicant comes in and says, I'm going to build down on the lake in the RLD. Kristen says, well, you've got to apply our shoreline guidelines. And they say, what's that? And Kristen says, well, I got a little 1.5-page document here that talks about shoreline guidelines. And, obviously read them and really don't say that much. And maybe that's good. But I think what we're leaning toward, at least as far as shoreline guidelines, is maybe having a checklist that Kristen and staff can hand out to the applicant saying, these are the items that you'll be asked to address in your application.
Can they be called
And be
non-negotiables?
prepared. Excuse me?
Can they be called non-negotiables or no?
Right.
No.
Or an expectation?
No, I don't think we want to make them regulation.
We can get waivers.
There's still guidelines in terms of the 3-tier. Let's talk about that later. But if we're just looking at shoreline guidelines, we would stay as guidelines suggestions.
And what that does is it gives this board some flexibility. If we make a policy and it says it has to be 3 trees,
Somebody will find a way around it.
well, somebody's either gonna find a way around it, or it comes to you and you're like, oh man, I want that 4th tree. It gives you no authority to do that. We leave it as guidelines, that leaves it open for discussion. And you guys always have that ability to add to it. Also, I want to back up because what Chuck was talking about, town board wants us, our direction from town board is being transparent with every person that comes through the door. If I'm waiting to get to your board for you to give how it is right now, when they come to us and say, okay, what do I need to do? What was the planning board going to look for? And those are the questions that we get on a regular basis. Because they want to provide everything you guys want, but they don't want to wait till your meeting to find out.
Right.
So.
We don't want that either.
Right, so the town board has talked to us to try to get us be more transparent, more things up front. Ordinance has sort of given us that same direction, and that's why we're doing a lot of updates right now. So when we sit with people, and that's the biggest thing we encourage, is meet with staff, we're here, we'll help you through the process. And that's our goal. It's hard to do. Like I can give ideas of what you guys, I've been to enough of your meetings, so I have ideas of what you're going to say. But if I could get a document of, hey, here's their guidelines, this is what they're going to base their judgment off of, I think we would be that much farther ahead. And then when they come to you and they've planted those 3 trees and you're like, you know what, we want that 1 additional, okay, not a big deal.
Yeah.
So I think we can look, sorry, Tim, I think we can look at the problem by looking at the requested variances. Because that's the other thing that's gonna happen, is if we even come close to something that's code, then they'll be requesting variances and then it'll be out of our hands again. So we can look for the problems there. My preference is that we say we wanna see, kind of like form-based code, right? We wanna see 25% reduction in the visibility of that structure. It needs to be this far away from the waterway. We want to see these species of things that help filter better. That's what I would look to go for, where we can be definitive. Again, I don't want to care what color, unless we all decide that we care what color house they're putting up, or what soft function or what flag they're flying for that. I mean, I'm nationalistic as well. I've got a giant 6x10 thing hanging on my flagpole. So I want to be able to do that. But if we all decided that we weren't going to do that, I don't really care, right? That's their style of what they did. I want to make sure that we're focused on what's going into that lake and what's good for that.
Well, we want to make sure we're doing what we can legally do. I mean, we can't legislate aesthetics totally, but I mean, we've been doing it and it's worked out well. And I think for the most part, Lakeside, I think we, you know,
I feel
The only
like
thing I don't think we've done well is like what Marcus said multiple times, is we say we're doing this. And they may follow up on a as-built with compliance. And then a year down the road, the trees are gone.
yeah,
Nothing that says,
Well, we're getting a great
That's
tool
tough.
right now. In a couple of years, they're gonna, if they can do it right now, they can scan our town and tell the computer to tell us anytime something varies by more than 2%. Right? So you see lot coverage change by more than 2%, then they get an email that sends them out to wherever they need to go. That's how it's gonna happen. We will be
Yeah.
there in the next 5 years. I would assume the tool will be available. So we'll catch those things if they don't follow up on it. What we can't
lot
do is
coverage
shut
will
down.
catch, building coverage like that. But somebody moves a tree,
Yeah,
takes away the
exactly.
shrubs.
Yeah.
That were on the, you know, the approved plans.
And then it's gonna
That's
be
tough.
my arborist said it was dead. And it,
Right.
yeah, I seen it all the way up and down the lake. On the houses
All the
we've
time.
done.
Could there be part of the surety bond?
Yeah.
Part of the surety bond is a 3-year, a yearly checkup for the first 3 years of the plan.
That puts burden on staff.
Right.
Something else we have to check.
we could add it
To make sure we're
our
compliance
list,
with the
yeah.
approved plan for a 3-year period.
so
Now,
All
you want-
ideas.
If you're talking just R&D, could be very possible because we already do it for commercial. Like the solar area, we have landscaping that's required and they have to maintain it. So that's something that we could maybe work into some sort of regulation. But
so
again, that has to drive them.
is there someone that can tell us what changes homeowners, landowners could do that has the greatest impact on either a reduction of or a slowdown of what moves through the property? I don't have enough knowledge on it, but if somebody said these types of grasses did more, this much coverage slows down. For every 1% of coverage that we decrease, it slows down by this rate. I mean, you're the water rate guy. Is there any data like that says if you do these 10 things, you
Well-
get this much better performance?
Part of the problem is you only have one season where that is most effective. Your greatest amount of runoff is in the fall and the spring. Winter, obviously, it's both. So there's only so much you can do. That's why it started. But I think that's different than what we're talking about. I mean, this is scenic shoreline, you know, and what I want to say is that I spent most of my career working in government. And being able to define success is the best thing, the best tools that staff can have for people coming in. It just shortens the whole project path. Unfortunately, the consulting business, they like to draw that out because that's fees. So I think that working together, I think that putting out some guidelines, this is what we would like to see, or, you know, for all of the ridgeline, everything stormwater is going to be helpful because it's a starting point, and they'll have a checklist. They can go to their engineer, landscape architect. Okay, it's out there. It's transparent.
Mhm.
This is what we start. Then we come in and have a discussion. The stormwater that's gonna cover all three
Yeah.
zones.
Yep.
But it's gonna be different for each of them. Or it should be different.
Well, the guidelines might just have, if we have 3 separate documents, There's different heading and maybe a couple different inclusions, but we're all still guidelines for each individual zoning district. I think that's easy peasy,
I
and it's
think-
gonna, and especially the engineers that come in here all the time, we're starting to see their applications be fuller and fuller and fuller.
Right.
That was proven last meeting. So I think if we kind of had something going into it where someone is doing it on their own, they're gonna have a little bit more. They're gonna have a better experience coming here, asking for approvals, not forgiveness. And I think it could be a really fruitful thing for staff in the office here, reducing your time of impact and having a more complete application come all the way to here.
Okay, I guess sort of wrap this up, shoreline discussion. I think we need a purpose, and I think that's, Bob has that as part of his documents. And then I think a checklist is essentially, this is what we'd like to see to achieve that purpose. And that would be something that you would have a point by point available to an applicant to come in or have it online. And I think we do want to leave it as a guideline where we don't want to make it regulations. But these are the things that we're looking for in the checklist and go from there. I know Cloud Permit has sort of taken away the personal connection between you and the applicant to some degree because applications are made. That's the first time you hear about it. So application comes in.
Not always.
Now,
We still have a fair amount of interaction. Dan and I have a lot of meetings with people before.
so you have
they submit.
pre-application.
Yeah. And like the
They are
the Bonaventuras, like we have quite a few people
Okay.
like that we
And
establish
we really
relationships
advocate
with.
for that, especially for the people that do just go on Cloud Permit. That we know that are gonna do another project, we advocate that, hey, call us. We walk you through what you have to submit. Because it is not the smoothest if they just go on and submit stuff, because then we have a lot of questions.
Because that would be your opportunity at the pre-application meeting to present these guidelines. This is what the board's all.
It depends on the applicant. If it's, a lot of these projects you're seeing are being submitted by Bill Grove, Scott Harder, Anthony Venezia.
Yeah,
If
they're
we
speaking.
tell them, hey, this is what we're doing now, these are the rules, then they follow them. It's, and those are the property owners we don't tend to have a lot of interactions with because there's a middleman that knows what needs to be done. It's people like the Bonaventuras or other people that are a little bit more hands-on with their application that Dan and I tend to have quite a few conversations with. So there's the opportunity is there for people like that for us to help them.
So would this be something that would be published where they could find it on the website? They wouldn't necessarily have to have a meeting.
So if
Correct.
you remember back, I think said that we were, I think I told the group about our new AI with, this would be a document that the AI would search. So if you typed in there, but it would also be a document, yes, that you could find on the website but it would definitely be tied to the AI. So if somebody searched it, they would know what you guys are thinking.
Like I live at this address, I want to build a single family home.
Yep.
And it's gonna tell me what I need.
We can make anything a required attachment. So if we get an application that's in the RLD and the scenic view shed and we have checklists that we would then want them to fill out, a shoreline and a scenic, we can add that as a required attachment for that. Wow.
That would be great.
As an applicant though, like I've dealt with your office and like Kyle and stuff, those pre-construction meetings that I've had as an applicant, not even on the board, that's been huge. I like that personal connection there. So having that packet of those guidelines on the Goodell jump, for example, that would have been a huge help to speed up the process of getting those approvals and understanding the expectations of what was needed. So I think it's mutually beneficial.
That's a great point. That's on the code side of things when we're doing permits and stuff, that you're getting that interaction with the code guys, and they do phenomenal at that. Kyle has really pushed that forward. Same thing that we're doing on development is trying to have those meetings before you start getting through all the inspections. And on our end, it's before you get to the PRC and before you get to the planning board or the zoning board. we're trying to get them working with staff. And the people that do, it usually works out very well.
Awesome. Yeah, I've enjoyed it, for sure.
Okay, so we would work toward a defined purpose of the guidelines. We're gonna leave them up to apply only to the RLD. And we'll come up with a checklist of items that we would like to see provided for, and the deliverable would be a plan and a statement. Because we request a shoreline guideline statement usually, and that would be the applicant telling us what efforts they're taking and presenting their plan, so that would be.
So my question is then, these are guidelines. To be enforceable, then wouldn't what we decide is appropriate for a particular project to become conditions in our approval? Is that the correct understanding?
Yeah. Similar to what we do now.
Yeah.
Only now they'll know upfront sooner.
Right.
In the process of what we're looking for.
I know NADLA has said that conditions are enforceable.
Correct, there.
Are they easy to enforce?
Or
Or is there a better vehicle
no,
for you to enforce?
so it's hard with conditions because they're the one-offs. So if we can get stuff that's the normal that everybody's doing, then it's easier, it's more like code for the guys. But when you throw in a one-off because it's something site specific, then you need, it's just a tracking thing for us to remember. Okay, that we need to enforce. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it that way because I think it is the appropriate way. It still is a method for this board to get what they want enforced. It's just, it is a little harder on the code side to enforce just because of tracking. It's not the enforcing of it, because as soon as we realize, hey, you put it in as a condition, it's easy.
Got it.
It's,
So if we have a recurrence, in other words, when you do an annual review, if something's popping up as recurring, then we might
yes.
modify the code.
Or probably that is gonna fall more into site design.
Okay.
But
something
it's gonna be in a document that we're gonna put that has a little bit more enforceability behind it. That we can find very quickly, compared to your resolution that's just attached to that property. Yes, when we get a violation or somebody calls us about it, we're gonna search the property file and all that, but we already know it's in like site design or in code. It's easy because we know that stuff.
Okay. So is that enough discussion tonight? Shoreline?
I will be providing this board the comments from ECB when we receive them. They are working on it, which I think will be good input for you guys to see where their concerns are. Ultimately, you are the driving board that we need the information back from so that we can take it back to ordinance to have them review it, and then also the town attorney to have him review it. But we need to get it exactly what you guys want.
Okay.
So what's the next task?
Is it still open for comment or
I would
Yeah.
say we develop a purpose. Why we have these guidelines. And, it's like a single paragraph. And then work off of Bob's draft as far as a checklist.
Change it.
And make sure we include all items that we're concerned about on the shoreline. Including landscaping, if we're concerned about building facades, buffers, shoreline protection, roof materials, stormwater management control. You know, you have all that in there. Right?
So,
markup, Bob?
so we want
Window
mark
treatment,
up-
lighting.
to mark up bounds and how do we do that? Are we allowed to talk about this as a group? Are we allowed to share a document as a group?
So what we can do is you can, in Cloud Permit, obviously get Bob's document. If you want to download it to your computer, make a Redline version, whatever editing tools you want, you can then upload to Cloud Permit as your revision. It's just yours. We'll have to have another meeting for you guys to do what you're doing here. But I would highly recommend, if you guys all make your own comments, you're able to see each other's, but they're uploaded to Cloud Permit, but that's uploaded publicly. And you're not commenting on another person's.
We might like to just create an active.
I could take their comments
Well,
and include it into one primary for review.
You just have to take them individually.
yeah, right, so we really need to know who made what.
Yeah.
And then we can discuss it in person in a meeting.
You guys do all your work, give me the version last.
We're not drawing any, not voting anything behind. And I think we have some time at our next meeting, we can, revisit this, and I think, between now and then is when we should do this. Providing Bob the input.
But that's how we want, so are we downloading, uploading, or are we just saying comments about?
However, the chairman would like.
Excuse me?
How do you want us to do it? Do you want us to upload our comments to Cloud Permit, or do you want us to just send them to Bob and say, hey?
Bob, what would you prefer?
Yeah.
I think we can go to cloud, because that way we could all see it. And
Another thing,
We're
because
not
of
voting.
transparency.
we're not voting on anything. I mean, we're discussing, but
Yeah.
we're not taking any votes. I think we could put it in the cloud. That way it's in the workspace
Yeah, and it's there.
and everybody can see what everybody else feels. And if somebody has an interest from the outside that they want to go in and look at it, they can look at it too.
Transparent.
Okay.
You,
So put it in the cloud, or
Got it.
yeah.
So
Are you doing that also the same conversation for Rich Line now?
I would say so.
Well,
yeah.
I was gonna say, that was the
Yeah.
easy part. Shoreline. Ridgeline. Right now, you saw the Saratoga engineers draft back in 2017. And I was here when we went through that, and it got very complicated. We just got into so many details. If you're so far off the top of the hill, you gotta be, out 50 feet, and then, it got into a metric nightmare in terms of trying to define where you should be on a ridge line. And I think, first of all, are ridge lines a concern?
Right, that's the other question, is have we defined it recently?
Yeah, that's your definition says something about a public view.
Yeah. Like our scenic view,
Well, what's a public view? Is it,
yeah, from the lake mainly.
you saw the ridgeline map? I mean, that had ridge lines all over the town. And is the concern just ridgeline views from the lake? Or are we worried about driving down 21 and looking at a ridgeline and seeing something pop out the top?
Like the house on Middle Cheshire.
Well,
Yeah, that's on a ridgeline.
Yeah.
I'll say it. The rear elevation views of the Pierce Brook they're not consistent with the character of the community. But the front views look like one thing, the back views look like a barracks to me. Whether it's you're looking from Middle Cheshire Road, whatever development is up top there, or you turn on 21 South and you see the backs of Pierce Brook. And I had made that mention about what they were going to do, the back facing units that are going to be on Parish Street. So they have an unbroken ridge line with no gables or anything else like that. And it just, to me.
You mean a ridgeline of the house?
The ridge line of the house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Right.
Don't confuse that with ridgeline.
No, yeah.
Land,
A ridge line of the structure. Yeah, and it's unbroken. So, when you look at the buildings from the front, there's all kinds of dormers and everything else, and it looks more like individual homes. So, but I do think that where there is a public view shed, where developments sit up high, or you're going to see massive development, I think it's important to have some guidance. Like the Middle Cheshire Road, that is a great example. I don't know what the development the name of it is, but it's.
I was gonna say
Oh,
that.
by St. James Parkway.
Is it?
Yeah,
It was a Morel,
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
On that one, yeah.
and that's, you can't miss that.
so, but is it that concern? I drive by it every day and
Right.
We probably used to, but it looks very out of character.
I mean, if you're up there, it's a beautiful view of Bristol Mountain. I mean, there's a value to being up there, having a home
Well,
up there
there is.
versus
I'm just saying,
looking at it from Middle
we
Church.
should have some guidelines, and if the back of your place faces a public view, whether it's a corridor, that people have to look up at. There should be some aesthetics that's consistent with the building character.
Well, there's landscaping there,
Yeah, there's
Slowly
there's some
growing.
trees back there in a mountain.
and they
right there.
light them up at Christmas. And
Yep.
probably at some point, people won't be able to see Bristol
Well,
Mountain.
we started talking about ridge lines.
Yeah,
So
well,
I gave you a couple of.
But that's a ridge
examples.
line. That is a ridge line. And Middle Cheshire down by the accessory comp, that's a ridge line.
Right.
I know we talked about it when we approved that, it's up on the hill, but provided enough landscaping, but
And
from down on Middle Cheshire, it looks pretty, you're really, doing a 45-degree look to look up. But if you're over on the other side of the lake, or there's another ridge line behind that.
Yeah.
So it's sort of blended into the lower ridge. And, I drove the east side of the lake, west side of the lake over the weekend. Other than water towers, cell towers, there's a farm in Gorham or two. Our side, really, the ridge line hasn't been punctuated too much.
Water.
And maybe we want to keep that.
New water tower.
The water towers, obviously,
Yeah.
yeah.
Gosh, what road is that? But that's an old development. I mean, you can see where developments erupt from original.
They're on the hill.
Things like that, yeah.
Now, we can talk about St. Viewshed later if we want to, but, as far as the actual ridge line across the top, there's not a lot of penetration.
So when we started this discussion tonight, we said everything flows down. And when I heard that we were looking to create a scenario that mitigates, again, what's going into that lake in the community. We just pivoted back to aesthetics for the most part on this discussion.
Well, that's what a ridge line is. It's all
But it's-
Well, I mean, there are other concerns related, clear cutting, steep
Those are-
slopes, stuff like that, but I think we've got most of that controlled with other regulations.
Unless somebody wants to commercially log their property,
Yeah.
it's exempt.
Can't do anything about it.
Can't do a damn thing, don't do about it.
So I think we need a mission with this guideline again, define why we're doing it. And then we can look at how we do it. So once we define the why, then we can answer, how do we achieve it? I also think that the ridge line to me might be different. The way we talk about it visually, a ridge line to me might be different than to you and to everyone. So I think you would have to then pick, where is that ridge line from? Where, if it's aesthetics, then where's it from? Is it everywhere in the town? Oh, that's gonna be a harder problem.
Yep.
Is it again from the lake, or because that's where we seem to get the most noise from, if it's disrupt somebody's view. If it's aesthetics. I
Is
agree.
it the size of the development?
So as I started.
Single family house versus, 15 lot subdivision versus a 600 unit. You have.
Again, I started going into the form-based code mindset of this percentage of scarring. And then being able to define the steepness that creates the ridge. Because again, I want to put a number to it. It's my baggage. But it's figuring out the why we're doing it. And if it maybe, again, we started this out tonight by saying it all flows down.
Right.
Which is more important, because
Yeah.
if we want to keep stuff from going in the lake, then that's pretty easy. You're gonna restrict a lot of clearing.
Recognizes the
That's what you're gonna do.
significance. But this is from.
Cause you want more organic there to slow stuff down.
Last version.
Don't know that,
Maybe.
I understand what your goal is, I don't know that it's gonna happen that. I think we need to actively manage our upper watersheds. You know,
Just gets it.
the Sucker Brook watershed, portions of the Sucker Brook watershed,
They're,
they're just inundated with runoff from agricultural fields. It has nothing to do with development.
Yeah.
But agriculture is not regulated, and one of the large agricultural operations decided to clean all of their ditches out this year. And they had an excavator cleaning all of those ditches in the upper portions of the Sucker Brook watershed.
make sure it flows better.
And make sure that it flows better, right? We don't have any control over that.
Yeah.
And we have silts out into the lake.
So to me, then it's just, what are we deciding? Are we deciding aesthetics or are we deciding something else?
Well,
I think that
I
these.
gotta go back. You guys keep on this 170 is gonna take care of all that. If we
170
follow
is
170 and we
should.
listen to 170, this has nothing to do with, I mean, it's secondary. The 170 will take care of storm control.
I agree.
And it's an
Okay.
intensity,
Okay,
and it's not, all the other things will happen
So
secondary.
Mark, it's coming down to
that's
assess.
aesthetics.
Yeah.
So then you
That's what I think we have enough
Yeah.
regulations to cover steep slopes, stormwater,
Okay.
clear cuts. It's the having the ridge line, sort of stuff.
So then that's suggested to clearing.
So my thought, maybe going back to my 3-layer approach, would be maybe roll a ridge line into the scenic view shed and have it as a scenic view shed ridge line.
But isn't the scenic view shed related to?
That would
the
cover
lake?
it all the way top of the hill. Excuse me?
But the scenic view shed is the scenic view shed just for the lake.
Yes.
Okay, but we have other ridge lines in the town.
Okay. I'll be blunt, they don't concern me that much.
Well, they do to me.
Okay.
So I think the things that we then start looking at as we look at it and say, how much clearing do we, how much clearing do we allow? And then what's the plan to replace it if we do allow clearing? How far back from the ridge do we want to look at? Like, what do we suggest? We suggest that it's 100-foot vertical, 200-foot horizontal. I mean, something. I just started throwing down comments. Impervious surface caps, right? Those the recommendation for those types of things.
Mhm.
How far do you even lighting at that? Right? And we do touch pieces of that. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that I think we could then target that says, hey, we'd like to see this from a visualist.
Okay.
I mean, how do you solve the Middle Cheshire Road? You can't. They didn't take anything down. They had plenty of percentage. They got percentage they can keep going. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you change it architecturally. You break that single line. You make it look like a series of buildings, not one long massive barn. Or Morton building, or whatever, you know.
But how do you, trying to figure out how you equitably and fairly decide that, that's not an opinion.
Yeah, because it definitely wouldn't be an opinion based on the architect's plan for a planned area.
I'd ask them to show you what else in the neighborhood is of that same
I
size
character.
and scale. Yes.
Yeah, that's
right. Size
Character of
and
the
scale.
neighborhood. Point taken. We haven't used that one much, but yes.
I walked in with that in my bag.
You
And what
really
I
only
think,
have
what
one
I'm
more
saying
development,
is
really.
this, that is huge. in
Yeah.
Scottsdale.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just likely to get sued a little bit more, but so we got a council for it. And the numbers are in our
I
favor.
guess, my problem, folks, and it's been the problem since ridge lines were discussed, is from what perspective are you considering it original? I mean, in Bob's draft, he calls it a public viewpoint. From the Saratoga draft, it's a common public viewing area.
It is defined in code. Ridge line, the line.
Oh,
formed-
ridge lines.
Yeah, the line formed by the silhouette of the natural crest of sloping land against the sky when viewed from a common public viewing area.
And it's the map,
Considered a common public viewing. area?
do we have a map that says that?
We have a map
Yeah.
that was done
think
by
it is.
Chris Jensen. I mean, remember the one had the squiggly red lines? It's in the workspace.
No, it exists.
It's got. If you wanna bring it up, Dan.
I'm working. Barely.
So we do have a map, and you know, if we wanna use that map as gospel or develop, go hire an engineer or consultant to develop a new map of ridge lines.
I think that, you know, what we started with shoreline is guidelines. Is there, some things are important to me, some things are important to Mark, some things are important to Jay, more than others. But if we have a guideline, we have guidelines, it gives people a clue of what the board is looking
Yeah.
for. And then we can have a conversation after people have had an opportunity to prepare a set of plans, knowing what our interests are.
So the map that's up there is the one that Chris Jensen drew. All the red lines are the ridge lines from his findings.
I think he just, for the most part, took crest contours and. Draw.
I'd be hard to see all those from the lake, that's for sure. But definitely from public.
Now, the other thing unique about this is that yellow area, which is considered the view shed from the lake, but that's more extensive than the scenic view shed overlay.
And Pierce Brook is
We
not
need
on
a
the
green
ridge
sign
shows.
to define a senior.
Well, I guess it always came down to, is it a ridge line or not?
Yeah.
And we have a definition, but it's from a common public viewing area. So if I'm over here, well, a road could be considered.
I consider it roads. And I think one could say, is it heavily traveled road or, you know? But guidelines, and we have the discretion to say, yeah, there's 5 houses on this road.
I mean, we know when it's done right, because we're always like, oh, I never knew that place was there. Right? And then we know when it's done wrong. Oh my God, let's brand
Right
it.
down West Lake,
Right.
yeah. Never knew that house was there.
So maybe what we do is we look at some of the projects that have gone wrong and say, what would we have done differently? And try to give
Lessons
some
learned
guidelines to
after
that.
every project, you know, we're consulting, that's what we do. Lessons learned.
I mean, Saratoga mentions a visual impact questionnaire. That's a tough one to,
They're consultants.
that's a tough one to quantify.
And I think that's why they went to the scenic view shed overlay. We had the purple map.
Right.
And it defined where the view shed was from the lake. So rather than getting into this, you know, a rather subjective definition of where the view shed is, we had an objective definition of the lake.
I mean, should the plan, Chuck, be that we all agree that we do take the time and just circle the town and look at the projects that we would like done differently? And say what would we have done differently? Because there's certain things that pop out, right?
You mean related to ridgelines?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
when I think of the largest impacts, so we brought up the two on the side of Middle Cheshire, right? There's a couple of projects there. What would we have asked them to do differently there? We've got the senior living facility that stands out across. You can stand on either side of the lake and look at bald spots and say, if that impacts you. What's that? Ferris Hill. Ferris Hill stands out from a lot of places, just because it's still relatively young. Yeah, there's a number of them that you can pick, or we can pick them here and say, what would we have done? But what would we have asked differently?
Would Ferris Hills not meet the ridgeline? I think it would. I mean, it's not.
Well, when it was built, probably not, right? I think there'd be a lot of people looking at it and saying, oh, wow, what just happened there?
It's down far enough off the ridge line that I think,
Is it?
you know,
Okay.
you know, the scenic view shed, it's obviously bad.
Yeah, for instance,
Maybe that's what we ought to be putting more meat into is the scenic view shed overlay. I think so. Maybe. And we want to include the ridge line that's visible from the lake, put our guidelines in for that.
I think being consistent, like you said, with all three zones. You know,
And then
gets
that's why it's the
our
lake.
opinions out and gives people a clue what we might be looking for.
It's a small area we're gonna drive. Nobody's going north and saying, oh, this this doesn't look pretty up here. Or like anything that doesn't look pretty, put it up there, right? Yeah. You're gonna drive down County Road 18 and right across town though.
No, then should work side. Then sure. Are you on a ridge line mark your house?
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
We never know from that matter.
Well, when you look at the concrete wall I inherited you.
That's good. That's good. All right. We beat up ridge lines enough. So where are we?
170.
Do we want to do something similar with ridge lines, purpose?
Sounds like Mark has.
Guidelines? Well, I'm just gonna.
Am I getting homework?
Hand it
but
down
not
to
a
that end of the table.
Oh, yeah.
I heard all my interest at that end of the table. Tim, Mark, do you want to work on a draft of the ridge line?
He said your name first.
Yeah, I'll go up with Bob.
Yeah, that's obviously that's a good start.
Unless Bob, you want,
No,
since you
he's
put the
working-
format out there,
you may do whatever you want with it. I really like doing these because it's talking points and it begins to start.
I know. and
That's where the
No,
conversation
they're big
begins
help.
to start.
I looked at this, I
About
said,
seven
where do we
twice.
start?
I got Saratoga. I did a comparison between the two. Did you do one?
I did.
You did that? Okay,
if you've already got one out there, we'll just.
start with that. Somehow-
Okay, so Tim, you'll work off of Bob's.
Right.
And
Become Tim's.
And I'll do that.
There is a map I'll share with all of you too. It's a NRI map, shows all the scenic viewpoints throughout the town. It's a map plan. I'll send it to all of you via email.
Okay. All right. Next in the agenda.
This could take 170.
170. Well, we spent some time on this. Bob had turned in a report of. Just let me turn the report in.
It did.
On 170, yeah.
170.
Okay.
I
And then-
reviewed it the other day and not much has changed.
And then Dan was good enough for the ordinance committee to write a synopsis of our comments. And I don't know if they saw.
I don't know if I saw that.
Oh, I don't know.
It was in the, I pulled that out of the ordinance committee packet. But it more or less discussed what some of our concerns were, and this part covered them pretty well. And trying to think, MRB did a review of it. So everything's sort of heading toward town board eventually for a hearing
Well, it is on Monday for their hearing.
this Monday.
So, some of the comments are in site design. I know you guys haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
And I really think, I know before that gets adopted, you guys are gonna have your take at the site design. And anything that's missing out of 170 and the site design, we will add it into the site. Design.
I guess the biggest concern the board had was regarding the threshold size of the,
Totally. and how it contradicts itself halfway through.
So I think if that's something that would be considered by the town board, we either change or.
I think that we would get applications in just under that, just so they don't have to comply with it. And 5,000, or was it 5,000 square feet? It just seems way more than what we were first told. Cause I remember Chris was up here like, oh, it's like half the room here, whatever that square footage was. And then all of a sudden I saw 5,000 square feet. And I was like, how is that gonna, catch everything that we need to catch? But then if I memory serves me, later on in there, it says anything from 0 to 5,000 needs to have a SWIP. So it contradicted itself.
But then there was an exemption for gardens that were up to.
Yeah, that was different. Yeah, that was, but the basic standard was 5,000, which I had a problem with. And how it contradicted itself halfway through.
So I will take that to the board, let them know of your concerns.
Oh, no, it's 25,000. 25,000.
25,000.
25,000.
25,000.
Yeah, not 5,000. I thought 5,000 would be too low. It's 25,000. That's like more than some of the RLD's lots, the whole lot. So some of the lots on the RLD would never even be looked at on its own because of 25,000 square foot threshold. Then later on, I'd see if I remember what it is, but somewhere in here it contradicted that. It said from 0.
You're at 24,999.
Yeah. 170-785.
SWIP requirement.
That's it, yeah. So then it says all land disturbances shall be required to have a SWIP from 0 to 24,999. And then anything over 25 has to have a SWIP. So kind of, yeah, it says everything.
Everything or not.
So why have one and not the other? But
Yes.
So there's two different things that we're talking about here. Anything above that 25,000 square feet requires a full SWIP.
Mhm.
Anything under that, we still have the regulations to go out and, but they have to put in the stormwater mitigation, but they don't have to do those weekly inspections. So it's
So you still have a SWIP, but you don't have to do the inspections.
correct.
so that's not very well defined then. Because I read it and I was like, oh,
So it looks like you
it's the same
don't
thing.
need a SWIP.
Yeah.
Did you clarify, I know I made a comment about SWIP inspections seem to imply that inspections were necessary when there was active construction. And if you have a property being protected by a SWIP and there's nothing going on like that, what's the development of like
That just changed their name?
it changes? Sunset Ridge?
Yeah.
Lakewood Valley.
You know, so that project's on hold or whatever.
Oh, it's going again.
What's that?
It's going again.
It's going again. All right, but for a long time it was on hold. The SWIP still needs to be maintained because that's the only thing that's protecting everything downstream. So
So they have the right to put in a reduction. But they do have to still meet minimum requirements.
but they have to do those weekly inspections to make sure that they do what they should.
Not per DEC, they can put in for a reduction in inspection.
With DEC or the MS4, because
Well, the it's the same rule, it's the MS4.
Right.
They can submit to the MS4 is work that MS4 acts in DEC's shoes for MS4 community. And with them put in for a reduction. They get approved by the MS4 official. And then that would reduce their requirement for the fact.
and I guess I'm suggesting that we shouldn't approve it. because it's the only protection.
Well, that's up to the MS4 office. That's within his authority. I can let him know that you feel you,
Well, the code seemed to imply that if you're not an active construction site, you don't have to comply with the inspections. And that seems counterintuitive.
if you ask for a reduction, then yes, you don't have to comply with the inspections, because you've asked for a reduction from the requirements. Due to either winter shutdown or no activity. Those are acceptable to.
So what happens, so tell me what the process is. So your erosion control fails and you have turbid water coming off your site, either going over your silt fence, your silt fence is down. There's nobody inspecting it, and the lake is being polluted with silt.
Then they get a violation, then they have to fix their,
From whom?
from the top.
Aren't there supposed to be weekly inspections noted by on SWIP?
That is enforcement, so if somebody drives by and there's a violation, then the town will issue that violation and they have to fix it. But if there's no work being done, then no inspections are required.
Well, I personally think that it's the developer's responsibility, not the town's responsibility. If they shut their job down, they made the mess. We shouldn't, the town shouldn't have to be chasing after these folks. You know, they're doing this because it's for-profit business. I don't think that they should be able to walk away from something and then leave it up to the town to determine whether it's functioning or not.
I talk about the SMO.
Yeah.
I had just questions about, to see if I'm got the process correct. He will review the SWIP. He will approve the SWIP. And then we will get it on as an approval from him, I believe. My questions are is he a qualified engineer to approve it? Also, how does the MRB fit into that picture? Do they still review it?
So they still review it and give us a recommendation. But ultimately, because how the MS4 is set up, the SMO has to be the one that approves.
And it says in there that the town will select that person. That's all it says. But is that person, is his qualifications correct? I mean, you know what I mean? Is it validated? If somebody come back and say, he's not even an engineer and he's approved it?
You
Or
don't have to be an engineer to be the SMO.
That's my question, I guess. Really, you not have to be then, you have to take the word of an engineer.
You have the authority to have whatever resources you need to approve that document. So that's where MRB comes in. Their review and recommendation to the SMO, and then he, at that point, makes that decision to sign the document.
So he signs it, we get it, can we change it?
No.
Yes, I'm over through training, obviously.
I would
Is
imagine.
there a certification? No? I thought for the the MS4 program they had.
MS4 program does have training, and you have to do your four hours every 3 or 4 years it is.
Oh.
But it's
Listen us.
Yeah.
it's a appointed
It's not a doctor.
position by the town board. So, and really,
Jim Fletcher.
it is appointed to the highway superintendent as it stands right.
Oh, okay. So Jim is the SMO.
Okay, do we have anything else to add to what we originally submitted and to the, again, you haven't seen the overview that Dan prepared, but you can put that in the
We'll put it in the workspace.
okay, the workspace. Look it over if you have any thing you want to add, let him know. Because Monday night this goes up the flagpole, right?
It does.
Okay. And as far as the site design criteria, is there is a reference in there to the site design. So anything that we feel
Was missed in 170, you still have the opportunity to be site.
because there is a reference in 170 to the.
Yes.
Are we okay with that? We move on? Okay. Last review we have this evening is a resketch of the Diamond Acres project out on 332 Purdy Road. There's a amended plan. Undated as far as, or not revised dated in terms of the plan, so it threw me off a little bit. First thing I looked at, and I said, when did they do this plan? And I said, oh, February. I said, oh, they didn't do this plan. So then it was pointed out by staff that there were some changes, and Ryan had listed those changes in his cover letter with the site plan. And I guess they have not applied for their PUD zoning change yet, so I guess it's one more kick at the can regarding the sketch plan. So if we have anything, if and what we want to add, now would be the time to do it. He had asked that we look at it. We told him he didn't have to be here. We've discussed it among ourselves. He was certainly invited to come if he wanted to, but didn't feel he had to.
And he was hoping by not coming that you guys would be more open in the conversations without the applicant here about your thoughts and your needs on this one. I do want to remind the board that this is a request. So anything that we want, this is the time to put it out there. Staff and MRB have drafted up quite a response at this point. Kristen has actually done a planning report, which is very thorough, of things that we feel that this project still needs to have before it can move forward. And whatever comes out of this discussion tonight, we will add to that report before giving it to you.
And MRB did a very detailed review of this, I think in their July 1st letter. And they brought up a lot of the issues that concerns I had. Again, we're not to site plan review yet. And, I know when we give advisory reports to the town board regarding the zoning change, I try not to be too specific to the actual site design. It's more, is the PUD appropriate? And I think we concluded that the PUD was appropriate. Not that we gave a blessing to the site plan itself, but we did have some comments, if you recall, in our advisory report that we said we did not get into the details of the site plan, but during our sketch plan review, the applicant's representative, the board stressed the need to provide adequate guest parking, EV-ready infrastructure within the townhouse community, adequate indoor and outdoor recreational facilities be shown, application of the town's complete street design and trails to ensure pedestrian and bike mobility, including along the existing street frontages. The improvement and dedication of mobile roads should be required, landscaping, strong buffers. And I mean, these were all things we threw against the wall, and hopefully that the applicant would take them into consideration as part of his finalizing the site plan. And now he's come back with a sketch plan. And I guess he's saying, I tried to meet some of those things, and they did make a change in the street alignment. They added a cross street down in the townhouse development area. They have an access road to the commercial properties off of the Spine Road. So I guess rather than having driveways out on 332, if you want to access those commercial properties, you have to come into the development. Whether that's a good thing or bad thing, It's a traffic issue. The proposed stop signs, four-way stops, or four-way stop at the Mobile Road, Spine Road, Side Road intersection. The three-way stops, the T intersections that had stop signs. And I know Code had done a review and they had concerns about the four-way intersection. That should maybe consider a roundabout rather than stop sign regulated to act as a speed control. And the trail, the extension of the Auburn Trail, or the stub of the Auburn Trail is in the back of the property. If you remember that evening, a couple residents from next door in the single family home development came in concerned about a buffer and stormwater. I don't know, they're considering addressing that. There's no buffer shown up along that property line. They show a buffer between the storage units and the commercial. Don't know what makes sense. That doesn't make sense. I'd rather have a buffer between the anything commercial and the residential.
Okay.
They want to move the setback line off of 332 from 150 feet to 100 feet. I think that's it. That's what they plan. That's the changes. So I think they still got a lot of work to do on the plan. What do we want?
I would like to, I don't know if it's in there, but I made a list of complete streets throughout with sidewalks through our design process. Parking spaces for open space activities in the middle. There was a big open space. They said activities, but there's no place to park if anyone wanted to park in there. Additional landscaping on the backside there. There was no trees or anything back there. You brought up the water flow problem to the neighbors. That needs to be definitely bermed and controlled down further. Street lights out at the intersections. You brought up screening between the units and sidewalks to commercial spaces. Those one of my biggest one was complete streets.
I think a big nut, and I think it's something we should go for, is sidewalks along 332. I think Farmington had brought that up. Would be a continuation of the great job they did over there with that the sidewalk that runs from 96 almost all the way down to Town Line Road.
Agreed, exactly.
And I think we ought to do our part to pick it up from there and run across that fringe.
Agreed.
It could be maybe built in stages, but this definitely should be a requirement. And obviously sidewalks up on Town Line Road also across their frontage.
So there's on the frontage on Town Line, the sidewalk is on the other side, on Farmington side.
They're gonna put their own in.
Okay.
My biggest hang up on this, I like the redesign of what they did from our last meeting, but the south end of the property on Purdy Road is just my biggest hang up, because good on Purdy Road and there's a lot of trailers and a lot of very dismantled houses. So to get into 9 single family homes on the Purdy Road side, you're going through a glorified trailer park, if you will. The traffic on 332 right there at Purdy Road, just watching people as they go down that hill going 60, 70 miles an hour, that intersection there is going to be a tough one for anybody to navigate going left, going north. The Mobile Road entrance, for me, if they redesign that hook right there and just had that 100-foot buffer along that south side of the property, and they use Mobile Road, widen that to from a service road to an actual dedicated road, now you have a egress going right to hopefully what would be a state DOT turnaround, like up by the Troopers Barracks, going to Prosecco's, for example. Anybody obviously traveling north, you're going to travel north out of the property, turn right, turn left on 332. But I think there's some lacking design work on the south side of the property where those homes are. I think that could be redesigned a little bit better to give that 100-foot buffer from the Purdy Road side, because there's just so much work that has to happen to those houses to want to sell a $300,000 or $400,000 house as you walk in behind a double wide. So that's where I struggle with. Everything else looks great. I agree with you, Chuck, about the buffer between the storage and the commercial space being flipped over, but just some more thought into access to Canandaigua, access going north off of Purdy Road or Mobile Road. And obviously we're not gonna put a stoplight there because it's a matter of 800 feet down the road. So I think there's just gonna be some traffic issues going from Purdy Road north, much greater than they already are now with the, 18, 20 homes that are there existing.
We should see a traffic study
Oh, yeah,
on
that'll
that.
be part of the application.
Yeah.
It's not part of the zoning request. Well, could be. Might have to be, just gonna be a pipe one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
So you would need a traffic
study
study.
as well, so they do know they have to do a traffic study.
And I think NIDOT had the intersections that had to be analyzed, levels of service checked. And yeah, Mobile Road that's been promised and promised and promised to become a dedicated improved road. And it's do your business and get off the pot on this one.
Yeah. Get that house moved.
Yeah, right.
We got the letter.
Yep.
Signed it the other
Yeah,
day.
Chuck just signed
Yep.
it. Getting closer.
And we got the right of way. Anything else?
They increased the amount of units, right? They went from like 270 to
Change.
226.
It looks like.
It looks like they added that one crossroad where they added those 2 units. There was a green space in there before.
Looks like they're still in the swamp maple marsh area down there. The southern western corner.
Where's the single family homes? Did I miss that?
They're on the south side of
Way
Purdy
above.
Road side.
It's fine. South side is fine.
Oh, right.
So that
Did,
just doesn't.
Was it ever determined the
They're small.
mini storage
They're tiny.
They're not.
This house.
approved in a PUD? But it would have to be a waiver or a
They could
a
leave
give.
it, it's in commercial right now, so they could just not rezone that portion. Or they would have to get a use variance.
Okay.
Think it,
And are those proposed mini storages for the units and the tenants, or are these public as well?
Public, I don't know.
I
There's not a
remember
lot
they,
of details about the commercial buildings.
I remember they said like, oh, people in those units will use them, but it's like, that doesn't really.
Well, I think it's
gonna be
a,
whoever they can
as
sell
much
it
as I don't like
Exactly.
mini storage there, I think it's actually kind of a good location considering people will be living in smaller homes. And then you also have Country Estates, which just got their final phase 1. So you're gonna have people living in smaller homes that could make use of them.
The mobile home? No, are they actually gonna build them?
I think I run into Pat McNamara, over on County Road 10. He's storage on County Road 10. I see him. quite a bit.
Calvin.
Calvin, thank you.
Yeah.
His comment is that because he doesn't have visibility, that he struggles more with occupancy because
Okay.
of it. So that would be the concern, especially as I look at a project like this and if it gets approved, I want to see that it gets built and that it gets completed, right? So it doesn't sit idle for a decade and get nicknamed. So I want it to be successful, and that would be the concern that I would have
Right.
towards mini storage.
Well, I think proximity for the mini storage with
Yeah.
around it, it
Yeah.
would probably
Especially
be
with all those
very
apartments.
successful, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Could they also propose like their phases too of completion, other than another dedicated road would obviously do the infrastructure first. But do we know, like, is phase one gonna be in the swamp, or is it gonna be the town line side, you know?
Right.
Knowing that expectation could manage time a little bit better.
I think that's one of MRB's comments is wanted to know the phasing of development, if I remember correctly.
Didn't they say their side streets were private? They wanted to be
There were
private.
questions about, that was actually one of Jim Fletcher's questions, was what was. to
Yeah, that's
be
where I think it should all
created,
be,
so we
all
just need
be
more
complete.
info.
Yeah.
But if you don't mind, by complete road, you mean that's a town maintained road?
We have complete streets details that have very specifically how they
Mostly for allowing multi.
with gutters, without gutters. Sides, 5-foot sidewalks, you know, that's complete. Yeah.
The other thing. Just
Oh, and I did measure the Pierceburg, they're 5 feet 4 inches. I think.
People like walking on the road.
I guess so, I did see that.
I do think things for us to consider when we look at like this is that if you look up the residential component in Farmington on the project at Hathaway on the corner, that obviously is doing quite well. And they can't fill those units fast enough. Commercial, they can't sell, or there may or may not be reasons behind that. But I think those are considerations that we should take in. We struggle with our industrial area to get people to want to come to it. I look at large commercial and often wonder what does that become? So what's that going to be like for the decade and beyond? So just I think the residential will be fine.
No, I think the visibility of this project is not anything like Hotel Canandaigua. So, you know, again,
They can
you're not
take their
gonna
time.
have a visual problem from Purdy Road.
Yeah,
Considering
that's
what
right.
you have to look
Being
at
improved,
along
yeah.
Purdy Road.
Sure.
It's
a 332
and
corridor.
even 332, there's you really can't see this project from 332. At least the
There's a
current
pretty big tree
vegetation.
buffer there.
Yeah.
Vegetation's pretty big there. Really see some.
But if they're looking to, I mean, they're gonna clear that if they're looking to change the setback. They're gonna clear a significant piece of it.
Why would they be clearing
It's pretty clear now,
the setback?
it's pretty much
Isn't it?
clear now,
Is the setback,
Oh, no, you're right. It goes right up to the trees.
yeah, pretty close.
you know? I mean, I think the big disruption is gonna be because businesses,
Yeah.
West or whatever.
but there was a good tree line.
Okay, Dan, we provided advisory report recommending it be considered for a PUD. Next step in the PUD process is the board then tells them, go ahead and apply.
Correct, with a true site again. We go from sketch to a site.
Along with the consideration of changing the zones.
And it comes back to you guys.
Oh, yeah, I know, then comes back. Full blown then. Okay, at this point, board, is there anything else we want to add regarding the revised sketch? I guess you can tell Ryan that it's an improvement, but as far as our original report, there's still a lot of items missing. I don't think there were a whole lot of changes. You can mention that, well, no, I don't about the details of the site really too much. Yeah, really, the only thing they did was put that go-between road in.
Yeah.
And changed the lot layout of the townhouses and added the access road which I guess goes all the way out to 332 now. So it'd be a through road from Spine Road to 332. What do you feel about the changing the setback from 150 to 100?
I wonder if they did
I mean,
that
one
just-
fifty's always been a problem because the right of way is so big.
Yeah.
332. Remember with the boat guy? He had to sit back so
Yeah.
far that they even putting a sign up.
Yeah. Then we made him put bushes up.
Yeah, we died.
I'm actually looking, I mean, what does anybody think they're gonna use that for? Right now, it's not allocated to anything. That's why I'm curious as to why they. Behind the trees, it's,
Or is it commercial?
Those commercial ones.
Just to expand it.
Buffers.
Well, I know we approved one commercial entity down by the coffee shop. That wedding venue or something.
I'm just wondering if they're gonna use it. I don't know. I can't tell. I'm looking at the.
There's
sketch
not,
plan.
doesn't look like there'd be space.
Well,
I think what they want is
It's all
potential.
spec.
Potential.
They got the warehouse, the fruit,
Right, that's right
and
there.
they got the other public
The farm stand.
farm stand.
There's a bigger building.
Mhm.
Yeah, but that's already,
Okay, you have that, pass on to Ryan that
You
our
can ask them.
our advisory report still holds, including some of the deficiencies, but we still recommend the PUD as an application to this plot.
What do you guys feel about the density? I mean, this is a vote to the oak node. Would you like to see more density here?
More
Yeah.
density?
More density?
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, I read that was the county. Somebody said maybe there should be more density.
yeah, so for living units, certainly, I mean, if we're looking at the comp plan and being more residential.
County, and MRB.
That's right, it was, yeah, Eric did say.
Well, I think the higher your density, then you have to provide parking. That's gonna be more impervious. I'm just also curious how they're gonna manage all their stormwater with what's currently proposed.
We would not want no more density.
Yeah.
We're happy.
You're comfortable with
Yeah.
the current.
Yes, current or less.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not looking for more density.
Yeah.
Like Tim said, I mean, now you're getting into parking, you're getting into visitor parking, you gotta provide. Just increases impervious. Unnecessary.
And I think we asked this before, but did they review the electric? Did they review the utilities for this one?
I think what he said was that they've started communication with RG&E, but it's still looking good, what he was saying. So I
is
think
this
there was
the
a
same line
definitive.
that's coming down for the uptown?
I think so.
He's in there before.
Got 10 years to go.
Maybe they're chipping it. Okay, moving on. Hopefully moving out. Very shortly. Okay, the minutes of the meeting back in June. Want to give me a motion? on that? What, second meeting in June?
I'll second that movement for approval.
Okay, whenever it was. All right, got a motion, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Karine, for doing those for us. No money to give away, no? Okay. No referral, so, no. Okay. Training, I just pulled up, I got today. In October at the Woodcliff Hotel, the New York Association of Towns is having a planning and zoning school.
When in October?
Agenda information will be coming soon. A 4-hour educational program provide valuable training for planning boards. Each school will feature practical, timely presentations on how to determine original. So they will sign up.
That's good.
Also, I'm training, last call for anybody that wants to go to the training in August here in Nicola, National, or New York, fitting. New York Planning Federation.
Yeah, so I miss that, I'll be away. Everybody else, it's close by.
Well, I need to know soon because I think the deadline is within a week.
23rd, I think.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
coming up quick. So.
Okay, next meeting, July 28th. I guess we can revisit the shoreline guidelines on Ridgeline.
Is that it?
Anything else you have, Kristen?
No, there's no agenda.
No applications?
No agenda item.
No agenda.
This
It might-
is weird.
I might have a lot line adjustment similar to the last one that you
Oh,
reviewed where
requiring
you need
a
a
board-
waiver, so we might be able to squeeze that on that agenda when I need time.
Okay, any credit releases or?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And Mark, when you mentioned going around and looking at things we did wrong, or
Could do
Or
better.
to-
we could do better, I said, yeah.
We're thinking-
We'd like to change
We
it.
could have done much better. We did good, but we could have done. Maybe that's something we can pick around.
Okay.
And if you want to talk about projects, how's the path committee doing? We can hear.
There's Kim's not here. There's a working meeting tomorrow.
Okay, we'll hear the results of that.
The like working working on the trails.
Oh. Maintenance.
Maintenance.
And any
Markers.
update on the site design criteria? If you want to give us an update, if you're not ready to
Yeah.
roll it out, at least give us an update on the 28th.
Yeah, it's,
Make our reason to come out.
right now is we're working.
Okay.
I will try to get you a better update on the phone.
Okay, look forward to that. So that would be our agenda.
Then.
And with that, I yield the floor to
Make a motion
representative
to
from
adjourn.
Ketchum Road.
Adjourn at 7:57 PM.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nobody opposed.
Aye.